Hey, Jennifer Chat. It is Fridays with Jan, and I apologize for the really shitty lighting. My light bulb in my room went out a really long time ago, and I've literally been meaning to get it fixed for I don't know, half a year. I only notice these things when I need to make a video at night, and I only have one light. That's a table lamp. So this week's topic is, what do you think about keeping a child gender private from strangers, random strangers? And this is topic based off of uh, two articles that we read this week, and they were about parents raising their kid who's, I actually don't know the age of the kid, like fairly young, like baby sized kid, um, whose name is Storm, um, without revealing their gender to the public. Um, and of course, this has stirred up all of this controversy and blah blah blah. So the first thing that I noticed when reading the articles was that the parents seemed um, like capable, responsible, loving parents just based on the way they handled interview questions. Um, and what I was taken aback by was how many times, just within those two articles, genitals were mentioned. Like, it was like, we won't reveal the child's sex, um, uh, or what their genitals are, and so on. And um, I wish that within the articles, the complexities of gender and sexuality were covered a little more. Like, I think the parents took the initiative um, to make a bold statement, um, and I'm sure I haven't read all the articles, but from the two that I read, it would be great if they used all of the media exposure as uh, more of an educational opportunity. So the focus is not just on this like mystery wonder child, which our society loves the notion of these like mysteries and anomalies. Um, but instead, they focus more on the general uh, lack of exposure to anything outside of the of a binary system. Um, so yeah, maybe I'm sure I haven't listened to any of the extensive radio interviews. I think Joe posted a link. One thing that I did remember, and I like, it's really like this whole thing is not a big, it's not a big deal to me. And I remember I saw something on a blog about uh, it was a website, or the blog linked to a website selling these wigs for baby girls so that they look like girls, or that you can distinguish their gender earlier on. Um, Something like that to me is ridiculous, and that got very or received very little coverage. And so, like the fact that um, we have these two so-called extremes, and one is getting so much media coverage and the other one got practically none, is like, I can't wrap my brain around that. Um, so uh, that's that. I think what's most important is that the parents raise. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say here. Is that none of the, because there are so many siblings within the family, I think it's really important that none of the siblings feel like they're different in any way, um, if the parents choose to make such a point out of gender, and that they're also um, able to address and respond to society when they are asked hard questions, like hard questions for kids, because I mean, you could shelter your children from the world for so long, but eventually, like, you're not going to wrap them in bubble wrap. Like, they're going to be exposed to larger society, which is not always very nice. And um, if they're brought up in this open and progressive way, they are going to have to deal with and face hard questions. So um, aside from that, like, I feel almost neutral about the whole thing. Like, I read the article and I kind of had my initial response was like, oh wow, that's interesting. I wonder where that goes. And I remember reading this a long time ago. I think it was the article with the couple from Sweden. The one that we read now was from Canada. Um, so yeah, definitely something to think about. I mean, I used to um, like when I was younger, I was like appalled at the idea of having children, and now um, I'm really comfortable with the idea that I would like to have kids, not necessarily birth children, but to have kids, raise kids, um, or a kid, whatever, um, sometime in the not so near future. Um, and so I've caught myself like I'll be uh, walking and I'll see something and in my head it's really weird. I'll ask myself as if I'm like a kid asking me, and I'll try to figure out how I would respond to a kid. And I think that's like my way of preparing myself to even to feel comfortable with the thought of having kids in the future. Um, so when I try to realistically put myself into the shoes of um, Storm's parents, um, like with that amount of pressure and having to answer to so many people, I think they're doing really well, and the kids seem genuinely happy, which I think is the most important thing. Um, okay, I think I'm getting kind of rambly here. I hope that everyone's doing well, and again, Joe and I switched, so I'll be making videos on Friday now because Thursdays are like absolutely impossible for me. Um, okay, so I'll see everyone next Friday.